Okay, we will be doing history now, and we will start with our reading, and then we'll move on to some other things. We're going to start reading about Squanto. We are still with the Pilgrims, okay? So we are still with the Pilgrims, and yesterday we learned that an Indian named Samoset came and spoke to them in English, right? So now we'll have to find out how does Squanto enter the picture. All right, Squanto starts out with an exciting chapter called Kidnapped. All right, I need you guys to hurry up and finish up with those, because I am moving on to history, and you guys are not going to pay attention if you are playing with the magnet still. Captain Thomas Hunt sailed his ship carefully along the shoreline. He was watching another ship. The year was 1614. And Captain John Smith was exploring the coastline of the New World at the time. Captain Hunt wanted John Smith to think that he was sailing to Massachusetts to trade with Indians, but Captain Hunt had a very different plan. All right, so we've gone back in time. This is after Jamestown. It is when Captain John Smith is making a map of the New England coastline, okay? And here is this other captain, Captain Hunt, Captain Thomas Hunt, with his ship. Would you please get on the page that I'm on and stay there? Thank you. I'm at the top of page 47 now, and you need to be there too. He waited until John Smith's ship was out of sight. Then Captain Hunt anchored his ship in the bay. Squanto, a Native American from a nearby tribe, saw the large ship in the harbor. Men lowered a smaller boat into the water. Squanto quietly watched from behind a tree as they came to shore. He saw the Englishmen take guns and rope from a boat and walk toward the woods. Suddenly, he was surrounded by the Englishmen. They grabbed him and took him to their ship, where they locked him in a dark room below deck. Then they rowed back to shore and captured more of Squanto's people. Squanto soon understood what was happening. Captain Hunt's plan was to take them to Spain and sell them as slaves. It was a long, sad trip to Spain. Once the ship reached Spain, some kind men helped Squanto escape. Soon he boarded another ship sailing to England. There he saw how the English people lived, and he learned the English language. He even made a new friend, a sea captain named Thomas Durner. All right, so read the important words with me. Translate. To say in another language. All right, so if somebody came in here and all they spoke was Chinese, would we be able to understand them? No. So we'd have to have somebody come in here that could speak both English and Chinese so they could translate and say it in our language so that we could understand. All right, and then they would also have to tell the other person what we said in Chinese. So they would be translating from English to Chinese, right? Then we have peace treaty, a list of promises kept by two groups of people. Right? So in this case, we're going to learn it's between the Native Americans and the Pilgrims. But it could just be between two countries or several countries making a peace treaty, a list of promises. Then we have Squanto, the Native American who helped the Pilgrims. Chief Massasoit, the Native American chief who made a peace treaty with the Pilgrims. Samoset, a Native American from Chief Massasoit's tribe who was helpful to the Pilgrims. And John Carver, the first governor of Plymouth. Turn the page. By the way, it is not Plymouth. I told you guys that. Don't say Plymouth. Plymouth. Home at last. All right, so he was kidnapped and taken to Spain. All right, right here. That's where Spain is, on the other side of Portugal. Then he was put on a boat and went to England, and there he was in England for a while. And now he's going to get to go home from England back to Massachusetts. Home at last. 5 years later, in 1619, Captain Durner sailed his ship to the New World to explore, and among the brave men on board was Squanto. Finally, he was going home. The ship reached the New World shortly before the Pilgrims arrived. Squanto raced to his village, happy to see his people once again. But the place where his village had been was now covered with grass and weeds. He quickly found a neighboring tribe. "What has happened?" he asked. "They have all died. If you had been here, you would have died too. There was a great sickness. No one from your tribe lived." Chief Massasoit told Squanto that he could live with his tribe. Squanto missed his family, but he was glad to have a home. So while he's been kidnapped, his whole tribe got a sickness. They don't really say what it was, but they all died from whatever sickness it was. Every single person. And if he'd been there, he would have died too. So even though being kidnapped was a bad thing, you think God worked it out for good so that he stayed alive?
Yeah.
All right, Squanto and Samoset meet the Pilgrims. It is thought that Squanto became friends with Samoset, a Native American from Chief Massasoit's tribe who had learned a few English words from English fishermen. Squanto may have taught him even more English after he came to live with the tribe. One day, late in March, Samoset came to Squanto. He was very excited. A new ship had sailed into the harbor. He had met pilgrims. He wanted Squanto to meet them too. Squanto brought Chief Massasoit and other Native Americans to pay a visit to these pilgrims. The pilgrims were worried. They did not know if these Indians were friendly. Captain Miles Standish watched carefully as Chief Massasoit began talking with John Carver, the governor of Plymouth. Squanto stood close by to translate the words of the Native Americans into the English language and the words of Governor Carver into the language of the Native Americans. Top of the next page. Michael, please stop doing that. The Indians and the Pilgrims make a peace treaty. The two leaders agreed to make a peace treaty, which is a list of promises. In this treaty, both groups promised that they would not harm each other or steal from one another. They promised to help each other if another tribe attacked. They also promised not to bring guns or bows and arrows when they came to visit each other. This treaty between the Native Americans and Pilgrims was not broken for over 50 years. So how long did this peace treaty last?
50 years.
Over 50 years. Right, Michael?
Yeah.
Squanto finds a new home. After the peace treaty was signed by the leaders, the Native Americans went back to their village, but one chose to stay, Squanto. Squanto had learned much from the Englishmen, and now he wanted to teach the Englishmen how to live in their new land. In England, the Pilgrims could have gone to shops and markets to buy the things they needed. There were no shops or markets in America. The Pilgrims would have to depend on themselves and the skills they would learn from their new friend. So next time we read, we're going to find out the different things that Squanto taught the Pilgrims. All right, first of all, let's review for the quiz, which will be next Tuesday. Some of the things we will not have read yet. Some of them we have. But if we haven't read it yet, I'm going to tell you what the answer is. I don't need you getting anything out. I just want you to put your book away. And I said put it on top. On top. All right, a group of Englishmen that traveled to America for adventure. What were that group?
Pilgrims.
No.
Strangers.
Strangers. Pilgrims was everybody mixed together. The strangers and the separatists. But if I just say they're there for adventure, you need to say
Strangers.
Together they made the Pilgrims. Understand that? Pilgrims is actually made up of two groups. The strangers, who were there for adventure, and the separatists, who were there for religious freedom. Who is the Native American who stayed with the Pilgrims and helped them?
Squanto.
That's what we read today. What was the first form of self-government in the New World called?
Mayflower Compact.
Mayflower Compact. You guys are telling me Jamestown, which is not even the same place, that's in Virginia. And you're telling me John Carver, who was the first governor. First governor. I'm asking you, what is the first form of self-government in the New World? Mayflower Compact. Michael, I can see you getting this wrong on the quiz because I didn't tell you to get that out yet. I said we're reviewing for the quiz, and you're not paying attention because you're too busy looking at your map skills. That is why I didn't want anybody getting it out, for that reason, because you're not paying attention anymore. Who was the military leader of the Pilgrims?
Miles
Miles
Standish.
Standish, very good. And we haven't had this yet, but most of you probably know this anyway. The Pilgrims had a feast called
Thanksgiving.
to thank God for His care. All right. What did the Pilgrims name their new settlement? Just say it.
Plymouth.
Plymouth. What was the Pilgrims' new settlement?
Plymouth.
And then Governor Carver agreed to a peace agreement with this chief. What's his name?
Massasoit.
Massasoit. Very good. Chief Massasoit. The Pilgrims landed in the New World in what year?
1620.
1620. Very good. And what was the name of the ship that brought the Pilgrims to the New World?
The Mayflower.
And who left Holland because their children were forgetting the English ways?
The Pilgrim.
No, don't say the Pilgrims because that's both groups together. The strange.
Separatists.
The Separatists. You need to know the Separatists here. Okay? Because remember, the Pilgrims are actually two different groups of people. The strangers who came for adventure and the Separatists who came for religious freedom. So when I say who left Holland because their children were forgetting the English ways, that's
Separatists.
You need to sit up and pay attention. Sit up. Thank you. All right. Now, we're going to review the map on the board. I actually have letters on the board, and I want everybody to stand up. And you will get to sit down if you can tell me what is the name of the country I point to. You cannot blurt out. There will be no blurring out. I'm going to call your name, and I'm going to point to a letter. All right, so letter C. Grayson.
Europe.
Europe, very good. You may sit down. Letter A. Georgia.
South America.
Say it again.
South
Say-
America.
No. Letter A. Hunter.
North America.
North America. This is our country. We live in North America. There's the United States of America right there. We live in North America. Letter E. Elise. E for Elise. Asia. Very good. Letter D. Michael.
Africa.
Africa. Very good. Letter F. Joey.
Australia.
Australia. Letter G. Riley. Letter G. Dane. Letter G. Brantley.
Antarctica.
Antarctica. Letter B. Vienna.
South America.
South America. All right. Letter H. Allison.
Southern
No. Letter H.
Pacific Ocean.
Pacific Ocean. Letter I.
Indian Ocean.
No. Letter I.
Arctic Ocean.
No. Letter I. Letter I.
Bay.
Letter I. I've gone all the way around. That's where I started with letter I was with you, right? Okay, this makes me super sad.
Can I do?
Five people who have not been paying attention when I've been drawing this map every single day since the beginning of the year, except maybe one day that we skipped. Everybody that knows, what is this?
Atlantic Ocean.
Not like that. Not like that. Ever. Alright, back to you again. K.
Southern Ocean.
Southern Ocean. L.
Pacific Ocean.
No. L.
Atlantic.
In a nice way. Not like you did it before. Everybody knows?
Arctic
There's the Arctic Ocean. Alright. J.
Indian Ocean.
Indian Ocean. Alright, let's go back and review some. Alright, Riley?
Asia.
Asia, yes. your eyeballs up here and pay attention as we review them. Do you guys understand me?
Yes, ma'am.
You will have this on your first test.
North America, Europe, Asia, Africa, South America, Australia, Antarctica, Pacific Ocean, Atlantic Ocean, Indian Ocean, Southern Ocean, Arctic Ocean.
And if it was here, it would still be
Arctic Ocean, Arctic Ocean, Pacific Ocean.
Alright, you guys need to pay attention. You should know those by now. Alright, open up your books. Map skill 2. Now, we did map skill 1. Some of you probably didn't finish coloring the land green and the water blue. Moving on to the next one, we are going to label with the correct letter. Alright? So we're going to start with A. A is Africa. So what letter do I have Africa up here?
North America.
Okay, Hunter, that really doesn't make sense. I don't think Africa is North America. I'm not asking you what do I have labeled A. I'm asking what letter do I have up here on Africa?
Oh, F.
Nope. What I have on Africa?
D.
D. So you will be putting a letter A on Africa. Okay, so put letter A on Africa. That one is Africa. Alright, B is Antarctica. So what do I have on Antarctica? Georgia.
G.
G. So I'm going to take the G off and I'm going to put a B because you guys need to put a B on Antarctica. So find that country at the bottom of your map and put a B on it. Put a little line for it. Alright, C is Asia. What do I have on Asia? Michael?
C. Wait, no. E.
E. I have E, so that means I need to switch and put C on Asia. That's this one over here. Okay? Alright, then we have D. D is Australia. What do I have on Australia, Joey?
F.
F. So I'm going to take the F off and I'm going to put D on Australia. Because that's what you're supposed to label. As Australia, letter D. Alright, the next one is Europe. What letter do I need to put on Europe?
Me?
Yep.
E.
E. And which color is Europe? So I know where to put the E. Where am I going to put it? On what color? Purple, yeah, purple. Purple one is Europe. Alright. And then we have North America. So, Brantley,
You have it labeled,
I don't have it labeled anymore. I've already pulled it off. So
you gotta label it as F.
F. And where am I going to put it? What color? Huh?
Oh, blue.
It is sort of a blue-green, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is blue-green. Teal. So letter F goes on North America. And then the last one we have is South America. And South America is G. And what color is it?
Like a coral color.
Or we'll just say red. We'll keep it simple and just say red. Okay? Alright, so you should have had where North and South America are F and G. Alright, then over here is Europe, should be labeled E. Right beside it, Asia, you should have labeled it C. Down below that is Africa, which should be labeled A. This little one over here is Australia, D. And down here, that long one on the bottom is B, Antarctica. You do need to know those. Now, on your map, they already have your oceans labeled, but let's say our oceans again.
Pacific Ocean, Atlantic Ocean,
Arctic Ocean, they labeled it right here, but any part up here would be your Arctic Ocean, because think about it, it's the top of the sphere, that's where the Arctic Ocean is. Just like all of this across here is Antarctica, because all of that is actually underneath the sphere, right? If this were a sphere, all of this land down here is part of Antarctica. We just labeled this big part, right? Alright, you are to color the land
Green.
green, all of it green. It doesn't matter what color it is up here, you're coloring it all green, just like you did on the other side. You color the land green and the water blue.